Hey everyone, Andy with Two Rivers Counterfeits Waterfowl Decoys here. Today we're going to do an airbrushing tutorial on a flocked wood duck drake. A little bit trickier than the hens, a lot more colors, a lot more involved, but really not terribly complicated overall. It doesn't involve as much detail shading as say some of the hens do, especially hen wood ducks. So it looks intimidating. Mixing the colors can be a bit of a challenge, but we'll walk you through it, and end result usually looks pretty good. Definitely worth your time to learn how to do them, and you get a nice wow factor. So stick with me and we'll get going. Okay, color wise, there's really too much to list all at once. It would eat up half the video time just trying to list all the colors. But the long and the short of it is, it's a lot. Lots of reds, lots of yellows. As we cover each color, I'll kind of give you a little bit of detail about what it is and describe the way that you're going to need to mix it. Going to use all three colors, or all three products. We're going to use some Goldens, we're going to use some Createx, and we're going to use some Rust-Oleum on these birds. So the full spread. I'm going to start, and of course, like all my other tutorials that you've hopefully seen and watched, if this is your very first bird and you're just getting into airbrushing flock decoys, you might want to check out mallards or black ducks first. But if you want to jump right off the deep end, more power to you. If you can do these, and especially the wood duck hens, then you can probably do just about anything, Canada geese included. So we've got black on black for our flocking base. I went ahead and I've already done the bills, which is a red with white and a little bit of black. We're going to add some yellow in right here along the face too, here shortly. The first thing I'm going to paint on this one, which is opposite of what I do on a lot of ducks, is the eye. I'm going to paint a red eye, and I actually want a little bit of overspray around the eyelid. They kind of have a bit of a red ring around their eye. And the reason that I'm painting it now is so that at the end I can go ahead and dot the pupil and call it done. While I'm painting the rest of it, it'll have a little bit of time to dry. I also don't have to worry about putting any eyebrows or anything on these particular birds. They don't have hashes through their eyes or anything like that, like a hen mallard would or a black duck. All right, so next step, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint the major areas. I'm going to start with the side pockets in the chest. The side pockets, what I do is I take my hen brown color, which is that mix of leather brown, sunburst yellow, and almond, and I add 5 more parts of yellow. So it's a very yellowish hen brown color. In the side pocket on a bird, going to be, I'll go ahead and lay it out with my chalk. Going to be from right here up and then back down to the rump patch. So it's kind of squared off on a bird, so I'll go ahead and call it right there. And then on the other side we'll do the same thing. About like so. All right, so there's our side pockets on our bird. So next we're going to do the chest. Now for the chest, the chest is a very red-brown color. What I found worked the best was I kind of tried to make purple and failed, but it ended up being an accidental happiness because it came out really good for this kind of wineish red-brown color. It's 5 parts Rust-Oleum Safety Red, which is, I mean, just fire engine red, that color right there that we used for the eye, and 1 part blue. The blue that I used is actually from a local hardware store. It's Rust XO. We've got a local 360 hardware sells this XO Rust product, and it's that color blue right there. So it's a very beautiful, like, Ford emblem blue. In fact, it's probably what it's for. It's probably for painting Ford tractors. But anyhow, turned out great. And I'm just going to lay it on the chest. I'm going to lay it back to right about here. There's a black bar and then a white bar that separate the chest from the side pocket. So I'm going to leave just enough room to put those in. Maybe. There we go. While I'm back here, Wood Duck Drake has a rump patch that's about the same color, so we're going to use the same color for that. All right, so there's our chest and our rump patch. Next, we're going to start some of the detail work. We're going to start up the head. What we're going to do is we're going to start by, if you've seen the Mallard Drake heads, any place that you want green to really pop, it's good to underlight it with some yellow. So I've got my Golden's yellow, which is this product right here, cadmium yellow. I just got it in a smaller bottle because I don't have a hose big enough to dangle this monster underneath, so I don't want to have it falling off and making a mess. So there's a couple of places that wood ducks have good highlights. There's a highlight right here behind the eye that is purple. There's a good streak that runs from right here back that's green. The forehead is green, and just forward of the eye is that very bright green. So I'm going to lay out with my chalk. I'm going to lay out where I want my highlight lines for the actual white. There's one that runs from the corner right here, and while we're here, we're going to use that yellow to paint the corner of the bills. But this white line is going to run here and then down the crest to the back of the head, and the second one's going to run from the lower corner of the eye right down that way. So that's where our 2 white streaks are going to be for our wood ducks. And then we're going to have the chin strap is going to be here and here, interconnecting each other down to about right there. So that's where the white's going to be, just so that we don't foul it up. It's kind of a general layout idea. I'm going to start on the bill. Just go very, very soft on the corners, the yellow. Just go nice and easy with it. Got a little bit out on my bill. Clean that up real quick. Magic Q-tip eraser. All right, and we're gonna come right here near the eye. Put a little bit in. And you don't want it quite as loud as on a mallard. You want it a little bit more subdued. And we're gonna put a streak in, bleeding right down the crest. And we're gonna get some on the head itself. Now, a good part of the head is a purple, kind of a purplish blue color.
Mom just called you.
She did?
Yeah.
That's my 7-year-old William, who is always eager to help. All right, I'll call her back in a few minutes.
All right.
I'm filming a video on painting ducks.
And are you talking about me and you?
Well, I was just then, yeah.
Why?
I guess you're going to be in the video. Well, because you came out here, which is cool. It's okay. You hang out with me in the shop all the time.
Hi.
So, well, the video is just trained in on the duck.
Oh.
But I bet everybody can hear you. It's okay. No worries. You doing okay?
Yep.
You good?
I was just letting you know Mom called you.
Okay, I'll call her back in just a few minutes.
Hi. If she calls back again, I'll answer, okay?
Okay. Love you too, buddy. O to B7 and hang out with Dad painting decoys again. We went teal hunting this morning and saw a few, but none came in. So, had a good time. So there's a silver lining to this whole COVID mess, and that is that my kid gets to come hunting with me a lot more, which I like. So that's where our highlight green is going to be. Now, there's some highlighted greens and blues along the back that we're going to get to, but I'm actually going to use a different color other than yellow for that because I want to be able to cover it up a little bit more. So since we've done that side, I'm going to go ahead and do this side since I've got yellow chalked up in the gun and I need to finish the bill anyway. My magic eraser back out. That was a big old clot. So here's a tip. Every once in a while, if you're cheap like me and you recycle a lot of paint, you'll have a clot blow out of your airbrush. A real fine pair of tweezers will allow you to just pluck that clot right off so that it doesn't sit there and gunk up the decoy. Sometimes you'll find an eyelash, or in my case, lab fur, cat fur, deer fur, kid fur, whatever fur is blowing around the shop today. So tweezers, helpful little tip. Okay, so that's pretty well where we want to be with the yellow. So we can DC that. Next, we're going to come back with our white. And now with our white, we're going to go ahead and start establishing where we want certain things. One of the things that we're going to do while we probably got the white hooked up is we're going to lay in some side pocket curls that kind of are right in here. We're only going to do about 4 or so. But just a little bit of white right there that kind of represents those feathers that fly fishermen are always lusting for, that make really good flies for whatever fly fishermen fish for. I dabble with fly fishing. You know, I'll take William down to the mill pond and we'll catch a few brim or a few bass on popping bugs. And other than that, I'm pretty much a spin fisherman. But we have a good time doing it. I love to catch some speckles now. Same thing on the side, just 4 or 5 of them. And we'll go ahead and we'll lay those on. Now, the white up here that we've left room for, that's one of the last things that we're going to do. And we may even use a white Sharpie for that, just because it's such a fine line, and it's just really, really difficult to get right. And having that overspray on that white would just look kind of trashy. So usually I'll do all of the green first. Sometimes I'll even let it dry, and then I'll come back in with the white and do it that way. This we're going to spray, but we're going to do that last. But there's some other places that I can go ahead and put some white in. I can go ahead and put the white in right here next to the chest. And that goes all the way up to the butt of the wing. You can always come back later and clean that up. We're going to come back with black in there anyway to blacken that up. But right here is where your speculum is going to be on the wing. And I'm going to go ahead and lay white in for that because it's a very pale blue. I'm being very easy with the white. I don't want it to get, so that's the lightest patch of blue on the bird, but I don't want to overdo it. So on the back here, and it's really difficult to see the way that the lighting is, but we're going to do 3 or 4 rows. And unlike with a mallard where the feathers, because the wings are so large and the back is so broad on them, they tend to grow outwards. These actually do grow mostly back, and just like on a hen, they're fairly squarish. So, and they're very black tipped, but the vein and the middle part, especially on the side medial of the bird towards the midline of the bird, is usually colored a greenish blue, even a shade or two of purple in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my chalk and kind of lay out where I think I'm going to want my columns of feathers to be. My last feather is going to be right here on both sides, I believe. So there's my last one. So that gives me kind of a target to shoot at. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to put individual feathers in there. So I'll lay it out with chalk first so you can kind of see it and get the general idea. But I'm going to do one there, and then I'm going to do one that is right here. Then I'm going to do one that's right here. Actually, no, I'm going to do 2. Check that. Wonderful thing about chalk is you can erase it with an airbrush with no paint flowing through it. So I'm going to do one there, and then I'm going to do one a little bit higher there. Kind of line them up a little bit. Then the last one will be right there at the end on the side. So that's kind of what we're looking like. That's kind of what we're going to shoot for. So I'll come in with my white, and I'll just make a little patch right there. And that white is going to be the highlighted area. I can spray the whole back blue, and that blue over top of the black, you won't hardly notice it. But bear with me. When we spray that, when I hit it with that blue, you'll see it turn on almost like a neon sign. Hopefully y'all can see that. And what's really cool about doing the shading on a Drake wood duck like this is, believe it or not, it's actually incredibly forgiving. On a hen, you screw that shading up, buddy, you are done. You might be able to hide it, you might be able to fix it, but if you get it too light, too dark, whatever, you can't fix it. On this, if you make this too bright, you can come back and overspray it with black and almost start over, and then counter shade it. If you want to make it lighter, you can just throw more white right on top and throw more color right on top. So it's really, while it looks intimidating, it's probably one of the most forgiving ducks I've painted in the 6 or 7 years that I've been doing this. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. My speckled one's going to be right there. We'll go ahead and knock that out on this side. And there you have it. Now, while we've got white out, and white is one of the few colors that I don't ever, I'll use an airbrush for multiple colors. I've got one for acrylics, one for colored, dark colored oils, and then I've got white, which is also an oil, but my white one stays white. I don't swap it out a whole lot just because it's so hard to get the other colors out of white. So, on the subject of wings, the wings on a wood duck are comprised of 2, maybe 3 colors. Your outer edges, distals of your primaries are white. The inside edges, medial of the vein of the feather, is a blue, a very robust blue, I might add. So in order to get that highlight, again, we're going to lay in some white and then shoot blue over it. But the outside edges of them are going to stay white. So get our tape out for a nice clean line. We'll start right here. Tilt it back so you guys can see it a little bit better. That should work. We're going to go right to the point where that little feather is. We're just going to leave it white. Come down to the next one, do the same thing. And then we're going to go right to the point where that little feather is. We're just going to leave it white. We're just going to leave it white. Come down to the next one, do the same thing. And then we're going to go right to the point where that little feather is. We're just going to leave it white. And then we're going to go right to the point where that little feather is. We're just going to leave it white. And you can freehand on these feathers, and I do it on a lot of my personal birds just because it's so much faster and I just don't have time to do it. But on my customers' birds, I actually take the time and tape it off, and it's a much better product. If you're gonna spend the time and do it, you might as well do it right. That's why mechanics all drive old junk cars, because they spend all their time fixing other people's stuff. They don't worry about their own. We're going to come on the other side, and we're going to lay in very, very easy white, which is ultimately going to be covered in blue. Same thing on the other side. And there's our wings. So we can put white away for a few minutes. And speaking of putting white away, I need to put my white away because I've left it out. Nope, actually, I gotta do this side still too. Almost done with white, but not quite. All right, now we're done with white for a minute. So, next step. I think we're going to do green first. I'm going to take a little bit of pearlized Createx. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do the head. Keep in mind that spot right there is going to be purple, so we can leave a little bit of wiggle room for that. Just a tiny little bit right in there between where those white patches are going to go. We'll come around and do the other side. You can see the huge difference that that yellow makes. Really makes that green snap. We'll let that, what's on there, dry, and we'll come back and do a second coat, and that'll darken it up a little bit. And of course, you can always darken it up with black too, and then overspray it again. And if you go too far, you can reverse it and come back the other way. So, next, hopefully you guys will be able to see the back. All we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we'll start laying in, just on the first 3 or 4 feathers, we're just going to lay in some green. And that's it. After that, we're going blue. Now you can use pearlized Createx, but I actually use that same Ford blue oil, because any place you can use oil, you should. It's just a little bit tougher, so. And I'm just gonna start laying in that blue. I'm just overspraying that white. I'll even go back and overspray the green just a tiny little bit to turquoise it up a touch. You can spray the whole back too. Don't have to worry about the overspray, because you can see it doesn't show up very well on that black. Only a little bit. Now remember, on the insides it's going to be blue, so we'll just come in on the inside and just lay that blue in there. Now, for example, that to me is a little bit too white, which is good, because you're going to be able to see me go back in and change it. And that'll give you a little bit of a heads up on what to do if you don't like something. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but to me, it just, I think I overdid the white a little bit on that big feather. You'll notice my entire back has got a nice kind of bluish hue to it, in addition to those highlighted spots. Well, that's not so bad once I put a second coat on there. Okay, so there's our blue. I'll go ahead and put a little on the head too while I'm up here with it. Just darken my head up a little tiny bit. Gives it that nice kind of vibrant green look. All right, so next we're going to come back in with black. This is where you can go in and clean up and shade anything that you feel like might be a little too light. So let's say we want to make this one a little darker. The back edges of all these feathers are going to be black. That'll actually kind of separate and delineate each individual feather. You can see it's subtle, but it makes a huge difference. And now, you're going from like what just looks like spots to actual feathers. Big difference. Now it's starting to look like real feathers. Say you wanted to shade this down a little bit, just shade some of that black in there. Lightly overspray it. It knocks that little white tone down a bit. And just keep right on going. There's your back. And since we have black in our hands, we can do next, just come up here. There's a couple little places that black will make everything pop nice. And one of them is right here. We got to add some black in to delineate between the side pocket and the chest. And then each one of these feathers is actually got, if you look at the feather itself, it's a big wide feather and it's got a white bar with two little black bars. So you just kind of drag some black right along the edge of it. Put some black back here on the tail. The tail of wood ducks is almost all black. It's a very deep green, deep metallic color, but just leave it black. Darken the head up just a touch. Same thing on the other side. Oop, I forgot my white bar on this side. No worries, that's why we always leave white hooked up. No sweat. You see those little tiny shakes that I make? That's why I paint ducks, not cars. Good enough. All right, so now we need to go and put in some purple. Your purple's going to be right back here in the eye, a little bit of a ring up there, and a little bit right there on the face. Not much, little detail stuff. Just like so, not much, just a little tiny bit. I usually take and put a little bit on the crown of the head too. All right. Coming into the home stretch here. Clean my airbrush out really good. Now, we use a little bit of Golden's burnt sienna. There's 3 or 4 little wispy feathers right back here on the rump patch on a bird that are this burnt sienna color. Which fact I might be out of. Should be some in there. The burnt sienna is getting a little long in the tooth. About time to switch. All right, my raw sienna or burnt sienna had a bit of a stroke in the bottle, so had to go in, remove the clot, give it some TPA, a little bit of physical therapy, and it's good as new. So now we're back to cooking. So as I was saying before, my bottle completely quit on me. There's 3 or 4 feathers back here that are represented by this burnt sienna color. And then I come back in with white on that lower edge. And I come in with the burnt sienna again. It gives it that nice rusty trailing appearance. Same thing on the other side. Burnt sienna. White. Burnt sienna. All right, home stretch. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and put the white lines in here, and we're going to get the white on the cheek patch. So 2 white spots, one from just back of the eye, running rearward down to the crest. And the line on this bird, on a real wood duck, is very broken up. So if you're like me and you shake or you can't get your airbrush in the right spot and you got to break the line up a little bit, don't worry about it. Because the line on real birds is always broken up a little bit because it's made up of individual feathers. And wood ducks are always moving their heads around and twisting around and doing weird stuff, so their feathers are always shifting. Now one cheek patch is going to come up right here just behind the eye, wrap around the jaw. The other one's going to come up right here to the back of the crest. They're going to meet right kind of in the middle. This one's going to come down the neck right around the front of the throat and meet up with what we had on the other side. Really tricky angle here. Same thing on the other side. Just going to keep that line going. there we are with that. So now, since we got our white out, what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you my stencil. This is a stencil that I've had for a long time, and what these are is this is the outline of a Dexter and Russell oyster knife. Deep, shallow, and then just a straight little V that I just cut a little notch in. And I've used this on dang near everything, but it's just looking at it, when I was you know, just starting this little venture back in a shed 5 or 6 years ago on Doral Road here in King William County, Virginia, USA. I got some of this stuff at the supply store. I didn't have stencils and really have money to be funding the project and stuff like that. So I just looked around the house and was like, that's kind of shaped like a feather. And that's what I go with. So Wood Ducks have got a lighter patch right here, which we're actually going to put in mostly just with white. And then we'll come back and overspray it and clean it up a little bit. In fact, we'll do that now. We're just going to, right here on the middle of the chest, it's just a little bit lighter. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back in with our actual breast color. And I oversprayed a little white on one side that I wanted to clean up anyway, so this works out well. I'm just going to lightly lay some of that on there, so now you get that just a little suggestion of a little bit lighter side. And then over here where I made a mess, clean that interface area up a little bit. Other side actually looks pretty good. So So we're going to come in with our white, and we're just going to take this stencil, and all we're going to do is we're going to start right here in the middle. I'll use the deep one, and I start on the bottom so that I can see my spacing. I'm just going to make a white little chevron. We're going to get about half of the way up, then we're going to switch to the V. That's all it is to it. We're going to do 4 or 5 of these on each side. And there you go. There's your chevrons on the chest. I made a little baby mess right here with the white. Got a little too much white on the stencil, so come back with our chest color and make it go away. All right, now back to the black. Right in here, we're going to clean that up just a little bit. At this stage, your bird's pretty well done. You're just cleaning up the extras. Cleaning up the overspray, cleaning up the edges. there you have it. So, last thing. I probably said last thing a few times. I tend to call lots of things the last thing that aren't the last thing, but we really are kind of down to the last things now. We're going to go ahead and paint that color patch on the speculum, which, much like the mallard, is trailed with white and tipped with black and is blue. So we're going to take our pearlized blue color, a little bit of tape, really just one piece of tape. We'll lay it right there where we want our black to start. And we're just going to shade this spot in. And remember, this is going to be a paler blue. A little bit of iridescence in there. Like so. I didn't really get a good white patch on there, so I'll go ahead and put a white trailing edge in there. Then right here, right on that edge, we'll make it black. Just a little line. Perfect. Same thing on the other side. Do my white first here. I didn't go quite far enough back earlier. White. And we'll cover it up. Nice pearlized blue. And lastly, our black. And the very last step, take our black Sharpie on our eye that is now dry. One. Two. And there, sports fans, is a Two Rivers counterfeit Drake wood duck. All there is to it. It's long, it's drawn out, there's a lot of details, but at the end of the day, good looking unit. Thanks for watching. Y'all let me know if you have any questions. Enjoy it.